Okay, well, while we wait for some more of our attendees to trickle in here, we can do a bit of introductions at least. My name is Eliav Levy. I am the Business Development Manager in the US here for Vela Sustainability Technologies, VST, based out of Denver, Colorado. And yeah, I'll leave it at that, I guess, and hand it over to Chris Parry, who's also joined us here from our team. Want to introduce yourself, Chris?
Thanks very much, Eliav, and good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are around the world. My name is Chris Parry, VP of ESG here at Vela Sustainability Technologies, joining you from Brisbane, Australia, where it's a very, very early 3 a.m. for us here in the morning. I'm seeing that we're starting to get a few other attendees on the call as well. Looks like we have Josh, and we've also got Bruno, and a number of others. So it is designed to be an interactive session. So please feel free to take yourself off mute, introduce yourselves if you would like to. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then we can get started on the today's discussion. So
we certainly want to keep this as conversational as possible, but I think
Hello.
Oh, Francisca, you wanted to
Sorry.
introduce yourself? Go ahead.
Yes, my name is
Please.
Francisca. I am the head of design here inside from Chile. Hello, everyone. I thought that I have my microphone on. Sorry.
not a problem,
But
Francisca.
Never to the best
hello.
of us. Thank you for that, though. Anybody else want to go?
Hello,
No?
my name is
Go ahead,
Bruno. I'm from Brazil, and from Nexo, it's part of Vela Sustainability too. So very interested to listen to you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Bruno, and welcome.
If not, that's okay too. We are a little bit.
Good afternoon.
Oh, go ahead, Jocelyn.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jocelyn Fita. I'm joining from South Africa. I'm part of Vela Sustainability Technology and Data Mine, working in business development with Chris Perry and the team. So I'm really pleased to be here and to have everyone in the session. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jocelyn. I'll be having some mute tech issues there, but that's okay. Why don't we get started in the interest of time? So over to you, Eliav.
Thanks, Chris. So again, just want to welcome everyone to the first Vela Sustainability Talk, or VSTT, as I like to call it. You already know my name. I'm Eliav. I'm Business Development Manager with VST, and this is going to be the first in a series of webinars where we explore technology trends through the lens of sustainability, or sustainability trends through the lens of technology, however you want to look at it, really. Today's topic, though, we're going to be looking at the power of data transforming sustainability strategies. And I want to start by making it clear that while Chris and I are experienced industry professionals here and enthusiasts when it comes to technology and sustainability, we are by no means experts. In fact, I've always felt that anyone who believes they are an expert in any field is really setting themselves up for failure when they learn something they didn't already know. So all that said, our goal for today is to make this as conversational as possible. We have a handful of folks in attendance here, and I want to thank you all for making the time to join us. We also know that you are just as likely to have valuable insights and experiences when it comes to sustainability and or technology, and we would love to learn about them. So if Chris or I say anything at any point that catches your attention for any reason, whether you agree, disagree, or want to provide a concrete example from your own experience of what we're talking about, then please tell us about it. And if not, we might just start calling on people. So be prepared for that as well. You're all probably familiar with the Teams interface, but you can see that you have a couple options to participate as well. There's emojis, raising your hand there, and all you'll have to do is just give your system permission to use the audio on your computer and unmute, and you'll be good to go. But let's get into it. So today we'll dive into the role of technology, particularly with the Internet of Things, in enabling the collection of real-time environmental data. I know in my own personal life, we have a thermostat and a sprinkler system on our house and light switches that are all on the internet at all times, which is pretty cool to control them from my phone. But there's a lot of value there as well, because my Google Nest is always telling me how much energy we're using on our HVAC system, how much water we're using in our sprinklers, and so on. And so it's a lot of valuable data that we're getting day to day, whether it's in my home or for a company, however you want to look at it. But on one hand, it's great to get all that information, but on the other hand, it's mountains and mountains of information that's being thrown at us constantly. And so it's great that we're getting it, but the real problem that a lot of companies are struggling with now is, how do we make sense of it? And so first topic I want to make sure we talk about is what a lot of people like to call analysis paralysis, because yes, we want this data, but how do we make sense of it? And so Chris, I'm curious to get your thoughts, because you're a little bit more of an industry veteran than I am, as far as what sort of role you think technology plays in businesses and being able to cope with all this data. How do they make sense of it?
Yeah, thanks, Eliav. And it's a good question. I think businesses need to first look at, I guess, the types of data that is being captured and its relevance. And I think this actually comes back to a business defining its business targets, its goals, and then from there determining what KPI metrics that they want to measure its performance. Once we've got that foundation of clear objectives, goals, and then the KPIs, then we can start to look at things around maybe the frequency of the data that we want to start capturing, in terms of its relevance, right? So is it relevant for me to capture, say, time series data down to a millisecond? Maybe that's not appropriate for us to measure. Maybe that's more for operations and controls, to determining thresholds for alarms, for example. Once we have, I guess, a clear understanding of the data types that are relevant for measuring performance and frequency, then we can start looking at how will technology best serve the business. And what I mean by that is having technology support us achieving those sustainability goals around, say, for example, it performing complex calculations, or performing those tasks and having automated sequences and workflow. Okay. It's basically what we're trying to have is let the technology itself do all of the hard work for us. So us as sustainability professionals, HSE managers, risk managers, whatever role that you play in the world of sustainability, it allows you to focus on what's really important to the business and focusing on those objectives, the outcomes, and achieving those goals. So I guess that's my perspective. I don't know if others would like to chime in on the call if they have different views or opinions. Please feel free to take yourself off mute, contribute. We'd like to hear from yourselves as well. But also maybe, Eliav, why do you think businesses should embrace sustainability now?
That's actually a really good question too. I think maybe a good way to take a step back, because there a lot of businesses, you go to their websites these days and they're all about, we're reducing our environmental impacts and we are so green and blah, blah, blah. And they want to get in on the party. But if you get under the hood, a lot of them are maybe not as environmentally sustainable as they claim to be. And so you brought up a point about metrics and KPIs, and they might highlight just those specific ones that make them look good, which is nice. A lot of them, and unfortunately, a lot of them do a lot of greenwashing, PR messaging just to make themselves look like they're doing the right thing. But if you look at the companies that are environmentally sustainable or really going above and beyond, compliance requirements, there's a lot of reasons. And the first one that comes to mind for me, of course, is just the environmental benefits. We live in a world with finite natural resources, and we all need to breathe clean air and clean water and drink clean water if we want to continue living on this planet as a species. And so the ones that are prioritizing conserving those natural resources and keeping the air and water clean are going to be the ones that are actually not only doing the right thing, but those resources are critical in their supply chain as well. And so the second reason that comes to mind for me is, you think about a manufacturing company, they want to ensure that when they are extracting a certain amount of cotton out of the ground for producing clothes, let's say, for example, they want to make sure that that cotton is going to be there for them to continue producing those products and making money and well into the future. Unfortunately, for the last 150 years, companies just think about short-term, financials. They look at the next quarter, maybe the next year or two tops. They don't look at 10, 20, 30 years down the road. But today, you look at what a lot of companies are doing, and especially when it comes to potential impacts on their business, they are very concerned about climate change, as they and everybody should be, because we don't know what climate change is going to do to these natural resources, to water availability in the future, et cetera. And I haven't even mentioned extreme weather, which can impact all sorts of organizations in a variety of different ways. And then those are the two big ones for me, obviously, the environmental benefits, the financial benefits. But the third one is, and I know it's kind of cheesy, but I have a 6-month-old baby girl, and I want to do everything that I can to ensure that when she grows up, she'll be able to have the same level of environmental quality that we've been lucky enough to have in our lifetimes. I don't want to die and have her live in a world where she can't even step outside because the air quality is so bad. So I want to do everything that I can too, as a sustainability person. So those are my big reasons. I don't know if anybody else wants to touch on it, because there's a lot of reasons, obviously, as far as why organizations should operate sustainably. But does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Maybe I can even just add to that as well. I mean, I think you're right. I think ensuring that your company purpose is well defined, and that also leads into what I was saying earlier about having very clear objectives and goals, then determining your KPI metrics, etc., to achieve those sustainable goals, because we're all after the same thing, right? Improved people, improved planet, all of those types of things, improved society. So, I think all very valid reasons.
Thanks. Yeah, definitely. And so I think what's interesting too is you look at what a lot of these companies are doing, and they're all publishing, or the majority of them are publishing sustainability reports now as well, because I know Michael Bloomberg famously said, if you can't measure it, then you can't manage it. And that cannot be more true of sustainability projects. And so, again, like you just said, it matters what metrics and KPIs they're looking at. But going back to the Internet of Things, do you see that making it easier potentially for sustainability reporting? I would think the answer is yes, but are there challenges, over the last 5, 10, 15 years when there weren't so many devices that had that capability?
Yep. No, I think it's definitely a changing world, right? I mean, with the connectivity, the Internet of Things, I think there's a pretty big, crazy statistic out there in terms of the number of connected devices that we're going to see in the next 3, 5, 10 years from now, right? But I guess it's coming back to that all important thing is the data and the information that is being collected. Is it relevant? Is it timely? Is it accurate? And more importantly, what do I do with it? What is the information and data telling me, so I can weave that into my company strategies, initiatives, to actually achieve what it is we're trying to do as a company purpose. So
For sure. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that crazy statistic because I did come across a Forbes article recently that said today we have 43 billion devices in the world on the internet. That includes phones, computers, those are the top of mind ones. But like I said before, thermostats, sprinkler systems, lights, whatever, like you name it. You can buy pretty much anything with an internet device connectivity on it, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so today it's 43 billion. 2 years from now, they're expecting it's going to be 80 billion devices. So once again, lots of data to weave through. How do we make sense of it? I'd be curious to know anybody on the line as well, because with or without all that data, reporting on sustainability initiatives, I would imagine is challenging for everybody. And again, it depends which metrics you're focused on, but have there been any challenges, any success stories that anybody might want to throw out there in their experience?
yeah, look, I think that there's plenty of examples out there, right, where companies are still trying to deal with the wealth of data that is being, I guess, thrown to them. And that's where the technology itself is really, really important to help with that analysis paralysis, right? Have it do all of the heavy number crunching. Let us focus on what's important to the business. So, yeah.
Sure.
I have an example when, hi, my name is Soledad. I'm from Vela Sustainability Marketing Coordinator. I have an example because my previous company, Cencosud, this is a very big company in South America. They have a lot of systems like where you were talking. For example, because it's a supermarket and they don't want to waste the food, they have this digitalized all the existence that we're going to route. So they have this alert program say, okay, it's past 2 days, it's not fresh, but it's still good. So all this food is going to be to other people that really need it. So that's kind of the artificial intelligence that they use in some of the things that they have probably, they are, I think, pioneers in this thing. And they develop it by themselves with their own IT team. But in some points you think, okay, this can be best, can be better, but how can you improve it?
Yeah.
And what kind of data can you get that really is important, like you said, Chris?
Yeah. I think it opens up the world of possibilities, right? You look at that type of example, right? And it also opens up an opportunity for maybe developing a circular economy within that business as well, right? Instead of something that traditionally was going off into waste or maybe into landfill, is there a circular economy that we could look at for that particular produce, for example? If it's fruit, as you mentioned, maybe it could go into jams and things of that nature, right? Where things are boiled down and turned into other products for others' purposes, right? So, great example, but it all comes down to information in the data and having better insights into the business to not only understand where we are and where we're going, but also open up our awareness to other opportunities and possibilities as well. So, great example.
Yeah, I think food is a really amazing example too, because it's 30% of all of our solid waste is food. It could easily be converted into jam, like Chris said, or compost for our soils, maybe. But again, it all starts with having the right technology in place to actually track how much food we're throwing away and where we can actually divert it, rather than sending it all to landfills where it just creates even more greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad segue either, because technology has to be in place to track something like that. So what sort of technology would you say an organization should prioritize when it comes to embarking on this sustainability journey, Chris?
Yeah, I guess technology, yeah, in terms of considerations to help your business achieve sustainability goals. And I think my recommendation to companies out there would be to evaluate what you already have in place, right? I mean, many businesses out there have already invested quite significantly in maybe technology, in people, in processes. So I think it's really important to evaluate where you are now. And that's to look at 3 areas within the where you are now. You need to identify what's working for you now, what's not working, and what's potentially missing from that story. And then I guess the next piece is to really ensure that you've got the foundations in place as a business. And that's what I was talking about earlier, about ensuring you've got your business targets and goals clearly set out. You've got your KPI metrics and so on, because you don't want to embark on a journey where you're looking at technology and all of a sudden you're going to pivot because you're going to be changing your objectives or your goals. Now, technology should be able to support you if you need to pivot. I think it's important that you do that foundation work in place first to say, these are objectives and goals. We're clear and we're set on those. Now let's make sure we've got technology to support that journey. So leverage the investments that you've already got. Look at ways that you can enhance upon those investments that you've already made, and identify what's working, what's not, what's missing. I think if you identify an area where you do need additional software and capability, if you like, to support you on that technology journey, my recommendations would be to look at technology that is flexible and also modular. And that's for a couple of purposes, right? Flexible and modular allows businesses to focus on a particular challenge or a pain point, right? And that means that if you've got this one particular challenge or a pain point that is, going to, really pivot your company to achieving a particular goal from a sustainability perspective, that means we can get technology in place very, very rapidly just to solve that particular problem. And it also reduces that big upfront cost that is naturally associated with those types of projects. And you avoid that big bang kind of approach with, we're going to put in a piece of technology or platform that is going to change everything within the business, right? So my recommendation would be look at technology that is, again, flexible and modular to focus on a particular challenge or a pain point. The second part would be, or second recommendation would be to look at technology that is scalable. And what I mean by scalable is technology that is scalable in terms of capability. So does the technology that we're looking at, does it have the capability to expand in other areas within the business and other, call it sustainability topics? You may have a particular challenge or a pain point in health and safety, for example, registering your events and your incidences within your business, following up on actions to determine root cause and identifying controls to put in place to mitigate those, and all of those types of things. But then later on, perhaps in the years to come, you may be interested in maybe doing some environmental monitoring, emissions monitoring, and reducing your carbon. Is this additional new technology now that I'm going to have to go in and evaluate and then potentially look to integrate? Or is the technology that I'm looking at from a health and safety perspective, for example, have capability to expand into those other areas? Okay. Because then that provides you with 2 things. One is it removes that siloed data problem that we see in many companies. But then it also allows that information to be shared in departments as well, because ESG data is not siloed. It has relevance across multiple departments within the business. And then the second part to scalability would be, I guess, reach. And what I mean by reach is, does that technology support the business beyond the office? Having mobile technology and capability is very important because, in many of the industries that we serve, mobile is critical because we're on site. It needs to be able to support, offline capabilities and those types of things as well. But it also goes beyond our own business as well. We need to maybe think of other companies that we interact with as well. Maybe they are contractors. Getting information from our contractors is critical to ensure that they're entering our work and in a safe and executing their things in a safe. But then also to suppliers as well that we interact with as well. And that could be even from a simple scope 3 perspective as well. So think of it from a capability and reach perspective. That would be my other, I guess, recommendations when it comes to technology considerations. So that's, I guess, leads me into maybe a question for you, young Eliav, would be, when we're looking at those types of technologies, what's your thoughts around, I guess, cloud and on-premise solutions?
Well, that is a really important topic. I know we're way over time here, but I'll try to answer it as quickly as I can. But as far as cloud versus on-prem, I know that cloud is a lot more secure. It is a lot less maintenance for organizations too, because if you have all your servers on-prem, you're looking at maintenance and upgrades here and there. And it's just a lot more secure as well. You don't really have to worry about hackers nearly as much. If anything happens to one of your servers in the cloud, it fails over to another server, no problem. There's automated backups, reduced maintenance, all that good stuff. So, yeah, but cloud is better off the bat, I would say. But you touched on something as well too that I found interesting, because with scalability of software or of your technology, whatever it might be, I think that is important also, because I always think about it in my own home with all the different mobile apps I have to give me all the different environmental data around my own home. And it gets annoying when I have to go from this app to that app to that app and get different emails from all different sources at all times. It's definitely a lot more beneficial when that can be a lot more consolidated into one single interface. So I just wanted to respond to that too, because I didn't want that to slip from my mind either. But I think another really, in addition to cybersecurity, obviously, in fact, even going back to cybersecurity, I also think about how we have a lot of concerns about what happens to our data all the time. Like, it's all out there and anybody can hack into it whenever they want. But I find it very similar to when I put sensitive mail maybe in the recycling without shredding it by accident. I rip it up as best as I can, but then it goes off into my bin and outside my house and then off into a recycling facility. Who knows what happens to it there? But I equate finding data in the cyber sphere similar to finding ripped up mail in a recycling facility. It's probably not going to happen anyway. But cloud does help with that too, if that is a concern for anybody.
Yeah, but I think cloud has come a very, very long way.
Certainly.
I mean, what we saw maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
We're certainly seeing a transition in the world around moving premise to cloud. And that's purely because I think of many advantages that come with cloud in terms of accessibility, connectivity, being able to leverage many online tools and things of that nature. I think, cloud has certainly come a long way, and it also helps to break down what I like to call sustainability silos. If I was to come back to the topic of sustainability, because that sharing of information across multiple people, departments, maybe sites and regions is absolutely critical to have that holistic view of a business and its operation, right? And then also capturing information from field into corporate as well. So I think cloud is certainly an area that has matured, and it's proven that it's matured in the market. So I think cloud's certainly come a long ways, and it's great to see that a lot of the technologies that we're seeing and working with today are also moving that in that trajectory as well.
Absolutely. And I want to thank everyone again just for sticking around with us throughout this. I know we're way past our time here, but we do have one last really cool hot button topic that I know is on a lot of people's minds, which is AI and artificial intelligence, because it seems like AI can do everything these days. So what role do you see AI playing in sustainability management, Chris?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. That one. That's a really that's a really challenging one, right? I think recently we have seen AI somewhat explode. AI is not a new thing, but we've really seen it really jump in the last call it a couple of months, if you like, with things like ChatGPT and some imageries and videos and all sorts of things being generated from AI. I don't think it's a silver bullet though. In the world of, I guess, sustainability, I think we're still yet to see the role that AI can really play, I guess, in the world of sustainability, and it's still maturing in that regard. I think there's plenty of good examples out there where AI is being used to analyze large volumes of data for pattern recognition, maybe determine potential inefficiencies within businesses, identify opportunities, and those types of things. But what I would say is what I've seen with working with businesses, that there's probably much easier and much lower hanging fruit, if you like. And that would be to just first simply digitize your HSC and your sustainability initiatives, right? First, let's capture and aggregate all of that information and that data together. To put it in a simple analogy, we need to first learn how to walk, then run, okay? And I kind of feel like AI is almost sprinting, right? So we need to put the foundations in place, ensure that we've got a solid foundation, and then work on our maturity level as we go. So, but it is certainly an interesting little topic, and one that I think will just continue to grow.
I agree. I find it kind of similar actually to the cybersecurity of cloud data storage. It's come a long way over the last 5-10 years. Hopefully it continues to progress beneficially. Hopefully it doesn't look at what we have done to the environment and enslave us for being so bad at managing our environmental resources. I guess time will tell. Hopefully we can get some regulations around it, but find out soon, hopefully. But I think that is the last question I had on my list. I'm not sure. I think our attendees were a little quiet after the introductions, but if anybody has any other final thoughts here, please let us know. Happy to see what other people think, because once again, Chris and I are not experts. We are enthusiasts and industry professionals, and want to see what other insights people might have around us. Okay, that's fine too. But I will say, I think for me, one of the key takeaways is definitely, like I said before, we're in the next couple of years going to have 80 billion devices connected to the internet that are going to be throwing all sorts of valuable data at us. I guess valuable is relative depending on your organization, but we want to ensure that we have the right systems in place to make sense of the data, to reduce our environmental impacts, operate as sustainably as we can. And that's my big message, I would say. I don't know if, Chris, you have one that you want to throw out there as well.
Look, I think the world of sustainability, I think everyone's on this journey. I think we're all starting at different places on this journey. And I think that as long as we're all kind of heading in that same direction, it's a great thing for us, for planet, for people, for everyone. I think that just coming back to first principles in terms of what is my company business targets, goals, objectives, what are the things that we want to measure, how we're going to measure, having that foundation in place is really, really important. Leverage upon what you've got today, identify what's working, what's not, and what's missing, and then look at ways that technology can aid you and support you in achieving your business objectives and goals when it comes to sustainability. That would be, I guess, my closing message to everyone. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you all on the very next podcast.
100%. Yeah. Thank you, Chris, for all your insights. Thank you, Bruno, Daniela, Soledad, and Jocelyn for hanging around with us to the bitter end. We'll send around a recording of this as well. If anybody wants to go back and listen again, by all means, don't let us stop you. But definitely keep an eye out for the next Vela Sustainability Tech Talk, VSTT. I'm going to stick with that nickname. Be in the next coming weeks. And we look forward to seeing you all there as well. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Ciao.
Bye bye. Ciao.